Thanks for joining me for another edition of Groove with Portia. I'm your host, Portia Booker, and yes, this is my real name. Groove with Portia targets those who are curious, eager, and hungry for new information that can aid in their personal and professional development. Malcolm X once said, "Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today." Never stop learning. Be a sponge for the rest of your life. So today's topic is about finances. You know, it's 2020. A lot of people want to achieve their financial success goals, whether they've, failed at them for the last couple years, like me, because I don't always plan for stuff. But now that I'm getting a little bit older, I try to do that more often. So I have Mr. Kevon Chisolm from the Black Wall Streeter Consultation Services, LLC. So Mr. Kevon, he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the Novice and Experienced Investment Club members. For 15 years, he has earned a reputation for providing skilled and practical guidance and leadership as president of Umoja Investments, LLC. During his tenure as president, Umoja has accumulated over $300,000 in cash and securities, notwithstanding withdrawals by club members. He also runs his business with his son, Kevon Chisolm Jr., as known as Junior Wall Streeter. That's excellent, Kevon. That's so wonderful to hear that you and your son run your business together.
Yes, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hey, why not? Teach him young. So, just a basic question, Kevon. How did you land in the chair of being an investor?
I first started learning about investing way back in 1991.
Wow, that was the year I was born.
Wow. Yeah, 1991, while I was in college, I took my senior seminar. I was an economics major. My senior seminar was investment analysis.
Wow.
And in that course, we learned, that was my first introduction to investing in the stock market and learning about different financial securities. And I remember the company that I invested, that I researched and did a stock analysis and research paper on was Pepsi. And at the time, and most people don't know this, at the time, and Pepsi still does, they just broke them off in a different subsidiaries. Pepsi owned Frito-Lay, Pizza Hut, and Kentucky Fried Chicken. I want to say Kentucky Fried Chicken. Don't quote me on Kentucky Fried Chicken so long ago. And so I did an analysis of Pepsi, and I thought it was just a great company. Taco Bell is the other one. Sorry, Taco Bell, not KFC.
Okay.
They own these companies. This is just in 1991, and I did a report on those Pepsi, and I learned how to analyze a company. And I thought at the time Pepsi was a great company. And from my research, and two things happened. I didn't have any money, so I wish I would have invested in Pepsi at that time, because then when they broke the company up, that would have been a great investment at the time. But I didn't have any money, and shortly after I graduated, BET went public. And you were able to, when I say it went public, you were able to buy stock in BET in 1991. And I had my first job, and I remember we were other coworkers. I was working for a social agency. We were all talking about it and stuff, and everyone was afraid, and me too, because it was my first job. I didn't really have any money, but I look back, if I would have invested in BET before BET sold the Viacom, that opportunity would have, because it was like $15 to buy some shares in BET when it first, and that just would have been a great opportunity. But wow. I was afraid, and because it was my first job, didn't have a lot of money at the time. But I maintained the knowledge and the curiosity. And so 4 years later, while I was in law school, I just purchased my first mutual fund. And I started making monthly payments into a mutual fund, and that's how I was introduced into investing to the stock market by purchasing my first mutual fund. And I put in $50, and every month they would deduct $50 from my checking account to go into the mutual fund.
What a story. I mean, you couldn't buy the stock in BET. I mean,
I
that's
did
pretty
not.
cheap. I would have.
Yeah, it was pretty. Mhm.
And this was in the 90s?
Yeah, it was 1991. I remember. It was yeah. I didn't really have the money. Like I said, it was my first job,
Mm-hmm.
and was about to start paying student loans. I was getting an apartment, so I had a lot of other expenses. But now, when I think about it, I could have used some other. I got a group of us to do it, like what my company does, investment clubs. We could have, like some coworkers, sort of like what people do with a lottery. They all chip in. We could have all chipped in to buy, instead of a lottery ticket, our BET shares in BET, which are would have there's a better chance of gaining a profit than buying a lottery ticket.
Right, right. So, Kevon, let's back up a minute. So you said you invested $50 into a mutual fund. Can you kind of,
Right.
break down to our listeners what a mutual fund is?
Sure. So a mutual fund is it's a company and they own a collection of different securities, like a collection of different basically stocks in a company. And you buy a mutual fund based on your level of aggressiveness or non-aggressiveness of how you would like to, what type of investor you are. So, like, I was young at the time. I was 22, 23 years old. I'm sorry, I was like, I was in law school, so maybe like 25. So I had a master's as well. So, and I consider myself to be really aggressive. So at the time, my mutual fund was really aggressive. It was American funds. They changed it in the Century 21 now, Century Investments rather. And so you don't need a lot of money if you invest in a mutual fund monthly. And mutual funds are generally safe investments because it's a collection of companies. But since then, I've moved on to exchange traded funds because exchange traded funds are similar to mutual funds, but you can trade throughout the day. And whereas mutual funds, you have to trade your trades are closed at the end of the day, so your profit levels can be different. Whereas exchange traded funds, and we've seen a tremendous amount of success in exchange traded funds. So again, it depends on it depends on what type of investments you're looking for. So for example, my son owns a consumer related ETF, and so he wanted to buy when he started investing, he wanted to buy Amazon, and obviously at the time he still cannot afford Amazon. So he bought an ETF that owns Amazon, a good percentage of Amazon, shares in Amazon, and they also own like Home Depot, Lowe's, Target, retail. It's an ETF that's based on retail, and it's pretty aggressive. So because he's only 12. So that's an ETF, and what I like about ETFs in many cases, their fees are less than mutual funds. So they work pretty much the same, the ETF, exchange traded fund, and mutual fund, but they just have different levels of when you can sell your shares. This is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
And yeah.
So, Kevon, let's back up to a minute. So you invested in a mutual fund and, you have your son on this exchange trade fund, correct?
Exchange traded fund, yes.
Okay. And so, how does the money come into these funds? Is there a percentage of interest or how does that work?
So you mean how do you purchase the shares?
Yes.
Okay, so that you can purchase shares in many different ways in a company and a mutual fund. You can use an online brokerage firm like Charles Schwab or TD Ameritrade, Fidelity. And they also have some smaller companies. I hear people, I don't use them per se, like Acorn. And your local bank, actually, you can go to your local bank and open up a brokerage account and say that I want to purchase shares in a certain company, and they will allow you to do that. We use online, our investment club and Kamari, we use an online brokerage firm. So incidentally, Kamari uses Charles Schwab, and he has a fiduciary because he's not 21. And so I'm his fiduciary, so I purchased the shares with him for him. So incidentally, Charles Schwab recently put in an attempt to buy TD Ameritrade. So in my investment club, we use TD Ameritrade. I like both of those companies because they provide a lot of educational resources, so you can learn from their trading platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to be a fee. Every time you would go to buy a fee, it would be like $4.95 or $6.95. But now most of the brokerage firms are allowing you to buy and sell shares for free.
Wow.
Yeah, they're allowing you to buy and sell for free. So, but yeah, you just enter it in the computer how many shares you'd like to buy. You have to have a bank account associated with most accounts, and they'll take the money out your bank account, and you will have own shares in a particular company or ETF.
This process sounds very simple, since you've been in the industry for quite a while. But, just kind of a basic question. When you go about purchasing, shares in a company or stock, how do you know what company you should or should not invest in?
So, great question, Portia. And I should have a disclaimer here. I'm not a financial analyst. I'm not a financial broker. So you may hear me say certain things. The broker might be listening and saying, that's not accurate, analyst. Yeah, it's not. The wording may need be, and that's why I'm saying this is because you can do that. You can invest in the market and not necessarily be a professional. I am a full-time attorney. And like you asked me, how long have I been doing this? I've been doing this well over 20 years. That's not to say that I am a professional, because I am definitely not a professional stockbroker or analyst. You have to pass a series of exams to Series 6 and 7 to invest for people, and I do not do that. I'll make that clear. But the average person can learn not to become a professional, but to make money in investing in the stock market. And to answer your question specifically, Portia, I try to encourage people, just like I do with my son, to invest in things that you are familiar with, that you use. Or not even invest so much, just track. Like, if you use Amazon, then you should be looking at tracking, learning about Amazon. And when I say tracking, means finding out, using your phone app, put in Amazon and find out. It's looking at its numbers, its price earnings ratio, sales predictions, analyst reports. You don't become a professional overnight, or not even say a skilled investor overnight. But that's why I try to encourage people to join an investment club, because in an investment club, you learn in a group, you learn together, where you would come in and provide different topics on, like, a member may come in and say, I'm going to do research on exchange-traded funds, ETFs. And they could come in, do the research for a couple of weeks, and provide examples to the club on how exchange-traded fund work. And that's how you learn about it. But, so, like, Kamari got, for Christmas, he got Beats headphones. That was on his list, so we got it. I got him that. And incidentally, so his friends, they were on a group chat. One of his friends got the pods, Beats pods. I was like, hey, nobody spent $200 on those, but he got them. And it seemed like most of his friends got something Apple related. And so Kamar said, look, we need to look at Apple stock. This is just a way, because you're using this product, and I'm a big Apple fan. But for him, for example, an Apple stock now is probably $315, $320. He can't afford that, but he can afford an ETF that owns Apple stock because it's about $50. Our investment club, if we wanted to, we can afford the ETF, the Apple stock. So the stock, you own shares in that company. So your percentage is greater than an ETF because let's say an ETF will only own a percentage, like let's say 5% of Apple.
Mm-hmm.
But you're still benefiting on the sales increase or the success of Apple by being involved in ETF or purchasing the shares outright.
So, Kevon, just kind of another basic question. How much should you invest in, let's just say if you want to invest in like an ETF that's affiliated with Samsung? Does it depend on their prices, or can you pitch a price that you're willing to put forth towards the ETF?
So, great question again, Portia. So, I would not invest in the stock market. Let me rephrase that. I would only invest in any stock, ETF, anything, period, only with money you can stand to lose. So if you do not have any discretionary funds, do not invest. I only suggest you invest in any type of financial security when you have your 3 to 6 month emergency fund fully funded, because the chances of you losing the stock market are great. The chances of you gaining a profit is greater, but you don't. So that's the first thing. You don't want to invest if you need the money, because you may not get the money back. There's a chance you're losing the money. So that's the first thing. Then it all depends. So if you have, and that's why again I always suggest people that they join an investment club, because in an investment club you pool your resources. So, for example, 2 years ago, as you mentioned in my introduction, our investment club bought shares in Amazon. Now, 2 years ago, Amazon shares were $833 per share.
Wow,
that's a lot of money. And by the way, it wasn't even the most, because Google at the time Google was only 500 something at the time. So most people cannot afford that, $832 just to buy one share. And that's okay, that's fine. And in fact, most people in our investment club cannot afford that. Or at least they can't afford more than one or two. So in an investment club, you can pool your resources. So we pooled our resources together, and we bought about 10 shares of Amazon. And then 2 years later, well, a year and a half actually, Amazon went up from $833 to $2,050.
Wow.
Per share. Per share, yes. So if we would have taken all that money when Amazon was at that peak at 2018, we would have made over $20,000 in a year and a half. And that would have been divided up with our 6 club members. So, right, exactly. Now, in the beginning, you were talking about college education. So that's what my wife and I committed to: use our proceeds as much as we can to fund our child's college education. We have other members that choose to do other things with their money, but we kind of break it down to what each individual's specific goals are.
Well, right, and it goes back to investing in something that you use.
Absolutely.
And obviously you want your son to go to college, whether he decides to go to college or a trade school or whatever his future endeavors are. You guys want to be prepared in advance,
right?
And I think that's a big struggle for a lot of African Americans, is making that investment into something that they're going to use or they're going to need later on. A lot of people struggle with living the paycheck to paycheck life. That's often a hard cycle to break.
It's a very hard cycle to break, and And that's what I found. First, the average median net wealth for African Americans is $4,900. Some African American communities in like Massachusetts and Boston area, they have no wealth at all.
Wow.
Right, like no savings, no savings at all. And like you said, living paycheck to paycheck. The average median net worth for whites is $97,000. So, and that's what our goal is. Our motto is building wealth through investment clubs. We're trying to change that trajectory, change that narrative within the African American community, and give us options, ways to build wealth. And like you mentioned, we weren't taught, right? So we weren't taught. A lot of this information was not passed on to us. Like I know my mom didn't pass this information on to me because she didn't know it. That's the first problem. The second problem we found is that many African Americans have been tainted by the stock market, so to say, tainted. They've lost a lot of money. I didn't realize when they talked about years ago that the Enron scandal, that affected a lot of African Americans. I mean, a lot of African Americans work for Enron, and they lost their savings when that company went bankrupt. The same thing with the Bernie Madoff scandal. I talked to a guy 2 weeks ago. He was like, he lost a lot of money. And sometimes, I was like, whoa, I didn't know African Americans were involved with him. But yeah, so they're jaded. And my wife met someone at an event last year, and she said that this woman was like, no, I don't believe in the stock market. I'm against the stock market. And I was like, I wish I was there. If you are retired or you have a retirement account, you are involved in the stock market.
Right.
You need to become. You need to know. That's right. That's what your retirement is. So you need to be familiar with that. That needs to be. You need to be making sure that your retirement account is working for you in favor, because that is it. The only thing that stock market is associated with is the stock market. You need to be familiar with that. Very familiar with that, because when you retire, that's where that money's coming from.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people know that their retirement 401k is tied to that, the stock market.
Yes, they don't, and they need to be, right, Portia? So, like, my niece just graduated from getting her doctorate in physical therapy. And at her graduation party, people were going around making announcements and congratulating her. And I did the same thing, but I also told her, I said, hey, when you get your package, make sure you put as much money as you can in that retirement package. You match. If they match, make sure you put the max in. Why did I say that? Because I did not do that 20 years ago when I started my job. So I know the mistake that I made.
Right.
And that money, I put the minimum in because that was me just like, okay, just let me do what I can live off of right now. Then 5 years later, after I started the job, I said, hey, I need to change this. I need to put the most money I can put in, because when it's time for me to retire, I want to retire. So I changed that. Changed my deduction, basically.
Right. And that's a good thing. So Kevon, I'm sure that there's a lot of people who will be listening to this show who obviously work for companies and they do have a retirement. Should they plan a meeting with whoever their retirement is through, whether it's Fidelity or another company, when they do plan a meeting with them, what kind of questions should they ask their financial representative for their 401k, as far as, they're either increasing it or, kind of giving them an outline of, if they do increase it every year, kind of what they're looking at?
Okay. So one thing I would suggest, and again, that's more like a financial planning question, but I have experience with it with my own situation. And what I would do is I would meet with my financial representative and like, I work for the federal government, my full-time job. And so, 2 years ago, just to know where I'm going, I requested a statement, like, when I retire, how much money I will receive. And if your job will do that, your employer will give you that, give you a snapshot. And you can look at that snapshot and say, okay, I need to put more money in or I need to put less in. Now, with your 401k, your pension, it could be a little different. So you might invest with, let's say, Fidelity, like you mentioned. You can talk to that advisor and say, make sure to ensure that you are invested in different securities that's going to get you the most money by the time you retire. So if you're going to retire in 20 years, you probably want to be in something aggressive that can gain as much money. But if you're going to retire within 5 years, you don't really want to be in something aggressive. You probably want to be in something that's moderate. So you just want to make sure and understand that whatever what your account is invested in at that given time, that it meets your long-term goals.
Mm-hmm.
I always consider myself to be an aggressive. I'm trying to get the most returns possible. But as I get older, I need to change that up a little bit to making sure that it's balanced. And when I say that, of course, I'm saying so closer to your retirement, you might want to invest in bonds because they're not as risky, or something that just not versus bonds versus stocks. So you just want to make sure that you have a good understanding that what you're investing in is going to help you meet your long-term goals when you do decide to retire from your job.
Mm-hmm.
And, one other thing, because I recently turned 50, that my job and most jobs do, they offer you what they call a catch-up. So now that gives me the opportunity to put in additional money in my retirement account. So when I retire, I have more proceeds. And I was like, there wasn't any question. Once I turned 50, hey, I put more money into my retirement account. So when the time comes for me to retire again, I want to retire. I want to do something that I love, give back to the community as much as possible.
Well, right. You don't want to retire and then have to go right back to work, because your retirement didn't have the allotted funds that you would have hoped for because you didn't invest enough in it.
Yeah. And on top of that, you don't want to just rely on Social Security because we don't know what's going to happen with Social Security. I'm saying
you're right.
Generation, we don't know what's going to happen. I hope I can get it when I'm 50. And I hope I can get my fair share of it, but we don't know what's going to happen with Social Security. So I'm like, you don't want to just depend on Social Security. I mean, it's good to have, but you don't want to just depend on it right now.
Yeah, it's kind of an up and down decision, coin toss with that. Thank you again, Kevon, for coming on and really educating us on the stocks and EFTs and, understanding kind of what the difference is. Because like I said, I learned more from you than when I did a Google search. And sometimes it benefits from actually talking to a real person instead of looking at 7 different links that are on Google that tell you 7 different things. So Kevon, your company, Black Wall Street or Consultation Services LLC, you guys, are trying to build wealth, amongst especially, people of color. What are you guys doing to help build wealth? What are, you guys doing to educate people on wealth building and money management?
So we're doing 3 things. Our primary goal is building wealth through investment clubs, and we're trying to help. Our goal is to get 10 investment clubs started within 5 years. So far, we only have 1, and we want to get more African Americans involved in investment clubs. Investment clubs have been around since the 1940s.
Wow.
And yeah, they've been around since the 1940s. Our goal is to get as many investment clubs started because as we see investment clubs as a direct way of helping people build wealth with less risk. And the way the market is going these days, last year they were saying that it was going to be the market was going to slow down. There's the prediction it got to be a crash sometime soon. Up until December, they were saying that, and then in December, it's like this ride is going to continue. And boy, this year so far, it's been actually very good for our investment club. I just want to say, our club is small, But in the last 3 weeks, we've made over $3,000.
That's
Games. We
amazing.
haven't. Right, so it's like, and it's just a small club, you know. So I know there's other clubs out there that's nothing to them because they're bigger, they have more people involved. So if our club can do it with the number of people we have, I just want to encourage other people to work together. And our company is named Black Wall Streeter. I named it after Black Wall Street because those people. Yeah, the Oklahoma community, Black Wall Street, considered one of the richest districts in the country at one point.
Yes.
They were forced to work together, to use each other, to patronize each other because whites in that time wouldn't allow them to do business with them. And I want that same mindset that we have to get our clubs together in our community, get people together, our family, friends, to get together, believe in each other, and invest with each other. That's the first way we're doing it. The second way is we have a financial literacy curriculum, and it teaches youth about financial literacy and investing. We actually teach youth. We break the youth down in our curriculum into investment clubs. And they learn how to invest in the stock market. They learn about good credit, bad credit, banking, savings, mutual funds, ETFs, everything in our investment club curriculum. We are starting with the youth. My motto is today's investors started yesterday because we are already behind and it's time for us to catch up. And I say some of us. Definitely not all of us, because we got some very wealthy African Americans out there that are already doing this stuff and have been doing this stuff for years. I just wish some more of them would give back, but that's another story.
Right.
And the last thing we're doing is with the financial literacy curriculum, we're trying to get that in the school systems. To get schools to do this more, we're working on some summer camps. And we're going to teach this in our summer camps this summer and teach our youth that they can become investors early on. They can build wealth. And I hope that by teaching the youth that this is still possible, that this is possible, the parents will be energized and be willing to participate in this with their children so we can help them as well.
Yes, absolutely. Kevon, you did say that these are on your website.
So it's not an online curriculum, but if they wanted more information, we're looking for locations. We want to get as many locations as possible. Right now we have Northern Virginia, which is where I'm from. We'll have a camp. I lived in New Jersey for many years. We're working on a camp there, and we've received a lot of interest from people in Atlanta. We're just trying to get a location in those areas. But if you have a facility in Ohio that is interested in having us, we will set it up and have a summer camp for youth to learn about financial literacy.
Yeah, Kevon, potentially somebody who's listening may want to, get together with you and do something like this for, a lot of the children up here in Northeast Ohio. Is there a phone number or email address that they can have to, inquire?
Yes. Email address is Kevon, Kevon, at thebblackwallstreeter.gov. And that's our website, too, www.thebblackwallstreeter.gov. And our phone number is 571-236-1471.
All right. Excellent. Well, Kevon, our time up here is about to wrap up. But, just one last question for our listeners. What advice can you offer them today?
My advice to anyone that's listening that is interested in the stock market, get some friends and family together and start an investment club. And if you don't have any friends, or if you don't, whatever, learn about investing by tracking stocks first. And we have a stock tracking notebook on our website, and it teaches you how to track investments that very easily. Google, Apple, we have a platform that shows you how to do that. Not necessarily just a notebook, not necessarily an online platform. Please get involved in the stock market. It can definitely help you in the future in your financial affairs.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Kevon. I mean, you've really hit some hard hitters there. I mean, because a lot of, especially African American people, they struggle with their finances. You know, some of them struggle their whole life. And I think a lot of it is because of the education. You know, the education is out there. The information's out there now, but it's just there's so many different ways to do things. And sometimes you have to just streamline it to one source. Because I believe that some principles don't change. That's why consistency drives results.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you.